Hello, Lala. Good to see you. Hello, Jim. I see you just popped in as well. Hopefully, you are doing well. I hope everybody is having a fantastic Sunday. And it actually has gotten to be fall here all of a sudden, which is kind of interesting. Um, I don't know. It always seems to come on upon us quickly in the Midwest. It's like one day it's 80, and the next day it's like 55 in the morning or something. Anyway, Lennox is of course here to wish you well, and let me see what else will I mention before we get into it. Oh, good news on my dad. He is home and basically back to normal functioning levels, other than being in back brace for a while. So that is good news to everybody. Well, maybe not my mom. He's slightly driving her nuts since he's one of those folks who likes to get out and do stuff, and she's a little more not that way. But anyway, we got some happy mail in the mail, and I got some happy mail to myself, and I think we're gonna do craft roulette tonight. So, or I should say, my card, which I have not done. And you can probably guess what's in the envelope based on the thing that's on top of it. But let's take a look at some fun happy mail with a really pretty stamp. I guess it's not really a stamp, but like a letter seal and stamp. This is from my friend Cindy, and it is, I believe, a Halloween swap. It's part of Danny's group. Danny had a really fun first craft fair. So that is fantastic. Handmade for you by Cindy 2024. Very cute. And we have something. Oh, we have recipes. A fabulous Halloween card. Okay, we'll look at the card. This looks familiar, doesn't it? This is what we were working. Well, I should say this general sketch was what we were working on last time. Some really cool die cut spiders. I don't know if you can hear that. Kaiser's chasing ghosts. Some cute die cut spiders. And this one's done. So I left mine as an open Z fold. This one is attached. So it becomes more of a book fold and says, "Boo." Very cool. Same design though. So it's a good sort of, you can do this in a couple different ways. This is also more pattern paper conservative because you don't need, you have both the writing place and the other way. Let me grab the one I did and we can just see how they're different. Other than being different subjects, obviously, and mine being less accurately matted. But anyway, but mine I left open like this, but you could certainly adhere this closed to make it more of a book fold. And then this has a circle on it versus this design, but I believe this is the original design that was cased for the sheet load. Anyway, very fantastic. Wishing you a happy Halloween and a great fall season. Your crafty friend, Cindy. At Cindy Makes Cards. If you're not following her, you should. She's really good. Let me see. Hey, ECR, how are you? The only spiders here are affixed to the card and made out of paper. They are made out of, I think they're like made out of shimmer cardstock because they're very, I don't know that they're the Whimsy spiders. Anyway, those may or may not be in my to do pile. Yeah, these are mini slimlines, Jim. It's an interesting cut. It's 6 1/4 by 7 inches, and then you score it 1 1/4 and 3 1/2, essentially. So this is a mini slimline. This is also a mini slimline. I don't know if I have a preference. I kind of like it like I feel like it's a lot, if you leave the book fold unattached, it's a lot easier to stand up. But I do like how this lays flat. Like the Z folds never really do. In theory, you could take this. If you cut a similar size one on here, you could like do something on the back here. Anyway, something to try next time. I may make another set of those because I like them so much. And this is some very nicely foiled papers that you can see. Lovely, lovely card. I will need to take a picture of that later so that Danny group can see it. And then we have a pumpkin bar recipe, which looks really good. Oh, I see. Oh, this is neat. This is formulated on based on a yellow cake mix, which makes it pretty easy to bring together. I'll need to try this. There's a recipe I should share with y'all that was a big hit last year at work. It's a cranberry bar. It's really a cranberry coffee cake, but it was done in like a sheet pan and was really good. Hey, Ron, how are you? One of the Rons. Oh, the coloring with Ron. I thought it said cooking with Ron, and I was like, oh my God, there's like a 15th Ron channel. Anyway, hope you are well. Anyway, moving on to Happy Mail to myself. I made a sentiment. Actually, so this words today. This SVG is actually from Crafty L, and if you remember the other cards that I should have mailed Ron but haven't, but they're right here. I have so many cards I need to mail, y'all. It's not even funny. Anyway, but so not those ones, but the dinosaur cards that I also haven't mailed. But same template. It's really actually kind of nice because the one that's built into Cricut is behind a paywall, and this one, since I uploaded it, I can just use it. So we have this potentially. We have a lot of potential things. We'll see which of them work out. Let me open our little package from Fun Enterprises. Oh no, what have I done? Oh. I had things on top of things. Anyway, these are the dies that go with the dude. That we might use. Oh, I'd have to. Let me see if I know where my. Oh, I'll have to grab. These look like we'll have to detach them from each other. Really interesting that you got a die for the glasses, which is pretty cool. I was curious if they would bother doing a die for those, because I really like it. Because you could just cut this out of paper, obviously, and then it would be neater. But I do like the headphones a lot. Ditto for the headphones, since they're. Hang on, since the headphones themselves don't have a ton of detail, you could just not stamp them and just cut them out, which I might do. Or we could stamp them and cut them out, but in any event. So what are we doing? Well, we are doing this week's Craft Roulette. And yeah, they'll be on your way. I need to put them in a bubble mailer and mail them to you, but I will do that this week. So we're doing this week's Craft Roulette, which is a card with a small bag. As you notice, he does not have a bag. He has many things, but not a bag. If he has a bag, I'm going to feel silly, but we have a root beer can. We have a dude sign, and we have a bowl of popcorn, but we do not have a bag. And a cat. A cat is not a bag. So I had some thoughts on that. One is I have this die set that does this like kind of mesh baggy thing. It actually goes with some paper that I pulled. Wherever it is. So it goes with some veggie paper that you can actually cut out the veggies with the coordinating dies. So if we want to do a bag of veggies, that was an idea as sort of a farmer's market thing. That was kind of before another idea came to me, but also in that same paper pack is, wow, there you go. A nice sort of 12 by 12. We could use this as a background. That is my thought as to what we will do. I also pulled some other paper because of course I did. I really like this one. I think this would look really cool with our fourth parameter, which is splatter. Oh, there goes Lennox. Bye-bye. But I also pulled this. This is from the Bro Amazing pattern paper, but I really like the lightning bolts on this. But I don't know. This is a really nice 90s pattern, but I don't think I'll use it today. But I was just sort of brainstorming. But I'm thinking this I will use as the background. And thing two is inspiration from last week's gallery. So I picked a card. I bet you can guess what's on the card if you've watched me a while. Hey, Elizabeth. Hey, Mommy Guide. Hello, Danny. How are you? Yes. Oh, I'll show you this. There'll be a picture posted shortly-ish whenever I get done streaming. But I got my Halloween swap from your swap. Really cool card from Cindy. I think this is the original that was cased for the sheet load, but very neat card. Similar. I like the book fold glued down actually because it makes the card close nicer. The Z folds never quite close, but they also stand up better on a mantle. So I guess it's kind of a trade off. Anyway, bag. What were we inspired by in the second parameter? First parameter, something with a small bag. Small is of course relative. Is a bushel basket a small bag? Maybe, but some of the tote bags are kind of small bags. Parameter two, pick something from last week's gallery and be inspired by that. We did that. This is, I don't know if it says what number card this is. Card from Mary Mason that has a wheel on it. It also has Roulette the Robot, and stars and other things. But I was inspired by the wheel. As you know, I have this exact same die set, which interestingly was a gift. And that is this. But my thought is, oh, and I have the stamp set if we want to use craft roulette things. You could actually put the little things on the wheel if you wanted to, but I don't think I'm going to go that route, but just saying. And remember, I lost it on my desk, but I thought that what we could do, if I can find out where I put things. Where did I put my other stamps? I do not know. Mm-hmm. I know they're not on the floor because I just had them. Oh, here we go. My thought is you could have the dude behind the wheel as like a podium, like he's doing commentary. Although that means we have to stamp him and probably the headphones and then figure out what exactly we want to do. There is a outer wheel die we can use if we want, but I think we're going to primarily use this inner one, do it in sort of a matching. This is actually purple, but do it in like a brown, and then figure out what we want to do with the background here, because we could make the pie slices something else. Oh, and the third parameter we haven't talked about is cornucopia color. So I'm thinking I can use some of my autumn paper scraps, of which I have a lot, and I thought that we could use that for the inner pie pieces of the wheel to sort of bring in even more autumn color. So that's kind of what I'm going with, and we'll see if that works out. So let's stamp stuff. And splatter is the fourth thing. So I think I will cut my mat a little smaller so that we have a little more border on our white card base to do some faux splatter. I just grabbed from one of my various stamp sets a faux splattery stamp that I can show you what that looks like quick. Oh, here's the piece of paper I lost last week. Anyway. If you want to find something you lost in your craft room, just start a new project and you'll see. I'm probably not going to use this color because we're going for cornucopia, but just to get the idea. So it does little splatters like this. This is your sort of first generation, second generation, third generation. So I kind of like the first and second mixed together. because you have some very vibrant splatters, and then these you could use. If you sort of stamp off, you get a more subtle vibe. I'm thinking we can pull some of the colors that are here, which is a maroon I don't have, and I do have some. I'm thinking we could do some different like brown splattery bits. And see if we have a, I don't think I have this purple though. Because I always pull things with, this was, if I had looked it up, I would know what purple this is. But so you got sort of this purple color and brown are kind of the vibes here. But since we're probably going to pull in some orange and blue probably work here too. So maybe Brett, something in this sort of fall color palette on the edges of our card base. We could do, let me grab some coloring paper because we probably want to stamp this and cut Dude out. I don't know if he has a name. This I did myself on Cricut because I wanted my own sentiment. Hey Pam, how are you? Hey Bitty Penny, how are you? It is craft roulette. I thought we would do. I haven't done craft roulette in forever, and I thought it would be fun with two ends. Okay, so let's grab some alcohol ink coloring paper, and we will go from there. Programming notes. Hannah is not streaming tonight. She is still coming home from her fantastic trip. I'm going to cut this at 5.5 inches and hope that works out. Because then I can hopefully run this in a single pass through my die cut machine. And then figure out where I put my stamping platform. Here it is. I was almost fully cleaned up, but you know, sometimes that doesn't happen. I'm going to trim this down to a little bit. Just so it fits on the stamp wheel. It's not really the end of the world if it doesn't, but it's kind of annoying insofar as you mangle the corners and then it's kind of unusable paper anyway. Here we go. So let's just stick that down, and I feel like this is a very fall shirt, so maybe we'll stamp that out too. And of course, Mr. Dude. We will stamp at the top. I am happy they gave us dies for both shirts because I was curious if they would not do that. And we can do the headphones. If the headphones don't work out, we can always just die cut them out of something like a single color. Also, tip, if you're not familiar, these are things like this are really easy to mangle. Mangle isn't a nice way to put that, but because there's no stabilization, it's easy to sort of get them wonky. So what I do is I just kind of throw it down, and it will normally get its shape back. Anyway. And if it doesn't, we'll just die cut it and say it's a handmade card and go from there. And I think I will play around with some markers today. So I will grab Memento, which the cat was sitting on earlier. The only downside I find to Memento is like it's kind of, sometimes it takes a little bit to get it to be super black. Sometimes I don't care too, because it's like something like this shirt, right? I'm going to color over it with something anyway. And these are newish stamps, so they're not fully conditioned, etc. So we may wind up doing this twice. Let's see. and then I will see what is going on with the chatty chat. This is right in front of me. I'll actually use my stamp pressure tool. There's a thought. Made by Delisa's friend over at Artful Angel. Well, not really, by her husband, technically, because it is actually turned maple. So, yeah, I actually like it a lot. It kind of, oddly, it matches my bamboo marker holder really well. How are we looking? We are looking pretty good. I want to hit the headphones again, and maybe dude's hair looked a little odd, but it looked like all that ink got picked up by the paper, which I am surprised by, but in a good way. I don't know. I don't think we really need to do the shirt again. That's looking pretty good. And you can also just do it with the fat, like the smushy part of your hand, whatever you call that. The muscle, that's the word. Anyway, there we go. And as you can see, this came out a lot blacker. I'm not going to touch it right away. Memento has a tendency to need a minute to dry, which is good because I have to open some new baby wipes. As a not baby person, it seems like babies must go through a lot of these things because, like, I feel like I bought this pack like a year ago and I use them all the time, but I am sure I use them less than babies. So there we go. And let's put our stamps back, which is usually a thing I tell people to do and then don't do myself. So, but I've been actually a lot better since the reorganization because, like, now that things have homes, I don't know. It's easier to put them back where they're supposed to go now that there's a place they're supposed to go. Although we will now have the special joy of seeing if I can find where my wire cutter is, but I'm pretty sure I know where it should be, which is not the same as where it is, but we'll see. And I am using hey Linda, how are you? And Irene Smith, how are you? I don't think we need to do any more stamping because I cheated and didn't stamp my sentiment. We don't really have to do anything for the headphones, but we definitely want to do dude and dude shirt. Let's look at dude's shirt. I'm thinking kind of like a yellow, like an orangey yellow would be kind of nice. We could do like a plaid, maybe grab like an orangey yellow, like whatever this is, Y38, which I like, and then maybe not a yellow, maybe a brown, like not a gross brown, but what like a this brown. I'm thinking this would be a cute plaid. We'll see. If it's not, we will go from there. And hopefully none of my markers are dried out because that would make me sad. You can, of course, like test this a little bit. I didn't have any issues, and this is why we get to die cut because it is easier to do that. So I am basically going to just follow our little squares. Since I'm using the lighter color, this is not really a huge deal right now. Actually, I kind of like this color, so I think I'll just do the whole thing in this color. This to me feels like a really fall kind of color. And what I'm going to do is basically lay down a base coat and then come back. I don't actually care that much about the bottom here, but I would like to basically come back in once this dries a little bit and add a little bit of shading, mostly to the edges here. The nice thing about these stamps is they have shading built in, so I don't know. People always like watching coloring, and I don't know why. Because mine is not particularly great. But I like this color a lot. In the bottom, we're pretty much going to not see. But what I'm going to do is just come back in and hit the edges here a little bit. And hit sort of the edge here next to the placket. And it's probably not reading very well on camera, but in real life, this will actually add sort of some subtle shading. And I'm just basically following the lines that were put in the stamp already. So this becomes pretty easy to deal with. Because I am not like a color all day kind of person. There we go. In real life, this is more, let me see. Oh, it's actually showing on camera pretty well. So like it creates sort of a subtle shading. And if you don't like, if you find anywhere that's like a harsh line, what you can do is just sort of feather it out a little bit. Like that line there looked a little bit too liney for my taste. So basically, I'll just do this over here. So what you're doing is you're just sort of putting down a stroke that looks like this second one. So you have, it basically gets lighter as you go because you're pulling up the tip of the marker. And then when you layer colors over it, it makes it a lot easier. Hey, Gloria, how are you? Hey, Stamper Girl. 20 years ago. Little sandwich maker. UTE. What is UTEE? Some sort of plasticky thing, I'm guessing. Too liney. Hey, Elizabeth makes up words too. My mother, who taught elementary school or for, well, like pre-K for years and years, actually said that making up words is generally a sign of intelligence. So we're running with that as an idea. This is purple. This is, I think this is a light enough pink. Yeah, that's a very light pink. Fabulous. Let's grab a slightly less light pink and just get some face going on. Well, you know what I mean. As much as I do like blue-haired dudes, I feel like it doesn't quite work with this color palette, so we may do a little something different this time around. And let me switch over to my light and blend it out. This marker is getting somewhat old, but that's okay. I actually have I have a backup, luckily. And these tri-blends, the one thing I don't like is the actual blend. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the actual tints are a little too far apart. So I tend to go in and just grab a little color off sort of the medium. And then come back in and do some more this, that, and the other thing. Let me see if I am. Hello, Bitty Penny. If I didn't say hello earlier. Wow, words. Elizabeth is clearly too intelligent. That's why she makes up words like leafery. And I tend to try and not scrub like where I put the memento because you can move it around if you like really, really scrub at it because this marker paper is not designed to take a whole bunch of what's a good nice word to use? Very zealous. Zealous? We'll use the word zealous. Abrasions. If you really want to be zealous in your scrubbing, watercolor paper typically is going to hold up better because of the sizing. At least that is kind of how I feel. I think I'll just give him I kind of like him with darker hair than normal. So I'll just put that in, and then we can. Oh, I forgot to. His ears are actually pink. I'm kind of liking this. I'm kind of liking the flat look tonight, so we're gonna roll with that. But let's go back in with our light pink and make sure his ears are not super white. I mean, he's kind of super white, but I mean, we will keep his ears a little bit better. And then I'm just gonna go in. What you can do is if you are doing a single color, just coming in and doing a little shading with the same color will actually give you a darker color because the colorants layer kind of like watercolors. There we go. And it turns out to be a very subtle look, but I kind of dig it. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I am on Facebook Messenger, but I am also not the best at always finding comments. So if if you ever send me something and I don't respond, just poke me again or email me. It was interesting. I actually got an email with someone asking for my thoughts on joining design teams, which is sort of always an interesting. It's always interesting in that, like, I remember when I was very much saw that as sort of the end goal of being like, I don't know, a respectable crafter, and now it's kind of like, well, I just am quite happy doing my own thing. So I'm thinking we're gonna do a green shirt, but I'm not gonna bother coloring most of it because once we die cut this will kind of layer over. I don't know if any of his shirt will come through, so I kind of want to at least do the collar. Let's do we have like a foresty green? Oh, we do. This is a foresty green. Hopefully it's not. Do the color in a foresty green. And we could do almost let's do sort of I feel like he would be kind of more of a earth tone kind of person. So let's do a little bit. That's not quite the earth tone I thought it was, but that's all right. I think this will probably be enough for our purposes because I think this will just cover it up entirely. So let us play the fun game of can I find the die cutting, my wire cutters. Oddly, I haven't needed them in a while. Usually I use them all the time, but I think they're in my tool drawer. They're not in that drawer. I have they're not there. Let me check one other place quick. I'll see if we can't find them. If not, I can look for my crappy scissors and perhaps let me just double check. They're not there. Although they may be hiding. Nope, those are just my. Well, I did find my not good scissors, so if we have to mangle them a little bit, we know where those are. Let's see. Let's just check one more place. If not, we will do this the not so correct way. Well, I found out my backup memento, but not my wire cutters. So let's just. It's odd because I thought they were just hanging off the edge here, but they may have just not survived one of the reorganizations. Oh, there's my tape. Anywho, we will just use the crappy scissors and deal with that. And at some point, try to figure out where things go. Gotten very spoiled by the pre-cut apart dies, but we'll see if this works. Oh, that worked. Never mind. We have our glasses free. We have our headphones free. We can clean those up later before I wind up mangling myself in some way. There we go. Whoops. To quote Delise, I believe, like as long as nobody names themselves on the stream, we are always in a pretty good spot. Although I do like the fine tip cutters just for a, you know. Oh, well, these just like bend apart. I might not have even needed to cut these. Oh well. There we are. So there are the three we need. Let me grab a magnet sheet quick so I don't lose any of these little pieces. Because losing die bits seems to be my superpower. Maybe other people's too, but or adhering dye, like magnetizing dyes to the wrong side of this. I think I am not on the magnet. Oh, well, it helps if you're on the more magnetic side of the magnetic sheet, doesn't it? We will just leave those together for now. There we are. We will put that off to the side. Let me I'll grab my die cutting machine. We will tape these down, and then I think we will be good to go. This one, yeah, it does give us a little bit of a border, so we might need to come back in and do a little bit of blender. Oh, words today. Use a little bit of the colorless blender because there are a couple areas here that kind of aren't quite how I want them. And since these are a more precise die cut, I am taping all this stuff down. Oh, this is interesting. This die is actually. Did I warp this? Oh, I see. One of the little pointy bits is. Pointing down, which doesn't help it to lay flat. There we go. That's better. That is better. Hopefully they won't mangle my guy too much. There we go. Although the nice thing about these lightweight steel dies is they'll. Well, let's give this guy a third taping because he keeps wanting to pop up. I don't know. If they are a little warped, it's really easy to bend them back into whatever shape you want. And we did a pretty good job on the headphones. So let's just run this through our die cutter. Hey, Don, how are you? Welcome, welcome. Oh, what's up, Cherie? Or Sherry? Oh, I hope the antibiotics help you out. That's never any fun. I don't know. I always do the stuff I need to color first because it's sort of like I like getting the pokier stuff out of the way. Looks like everything cut through. That is fantastic. You have to be a little careful with the headphones just because there's it's got this the band is fairly fragile is the wrong word here, but you know what I mean. Like it's a little futzier. And this one I think we'll do a little work on. But let's see how we'll see how this lays out. Actually, I probably won't. I'll hang on to this tape for the moment because we might need it in a minute. There's that. We got an actual even cut, which is not a thing that usually happens for me. I definitely. How do we feel about this? Yeah, I feel like. Yeah, we'll just have to glue it. It doesn't quite line up, but you could definitely like just chop it, and that might be a based on my die cutting more than the actual image, but I do want to figure out where my colorless blender is. Here we are. But I can never tell the colorless blender from like the lighter grays. So what I'm basically going to do is just come in here on the edge and try and push the color back towards that black line and see if there's anything other places. Here's the same difference. So what this basically the blender is going to push the colorant away from it. The other option, since if it doesn't work particularly well for us, and you can wait for this to dry and do it again, but you can really see it here where it's basically pushed the color all the way back where it's supposed to go. This isn't entirely white. If I really cared, we could go and use a little gel pen on it to make it white. We'll see how in the final. I might go and color over that one. And we can let that all dry while we're futzing with our wheel. But I do have some nice. I do really like these, whatever these are. Uniball? Yeah, the Uniball ones. I think I will just come in here. And I wouldn't care about this as much, except it's right on the edge. So what you can do is just color over it. You want to be kind of careful to not get on your lines too much, like on these black lines too much, or you'll color those over too. But that I think makes it a lot less noticeable. So I am happy with that. For others who are using this stamp set in the future, you don't have to color any of this because only the like little neck here will show. Anyway, let us grab our wheel. We're going to kind of do 2 passes, but maybe we don't have to, depending, because we can see what color is on them. This is kind of a nice yellow, although this isn't going to quite cut. We could see if we have another piece that is similar, or grab one from the pattern paper, but the goal here was to sort of utilize stuff that was already scrap. What is this? Oh, this is a card base. That would be kind of interesting. But I think we're going to figure out what we want here and then cut this out of brown for a second pass. Because I kind of like this aligned with this, like one of the spokes of the wheel being straight up and down. Because I think that will, what we're going to basically do is put him behind it. So I think that's going to look cool. And my pokey tool just ran away. So let's just do our cuts and we can put our card together. This should come together fairly quickly. And we do have a little insurance here. If I can figure out where I put my piece that has all the tape on it. It somehow magically disappeared on my desk. Oh, goodness. I am not going to worry about it because I have a lot of tape available. And even though this is magnets, I do kind of like to tape it down because it still keeps it more in place than if you don't. This, we have a little bit of fudge factor here because these leaves are pretty abstract. But before I do that, let me see if I'm missing anything. Grandchildren's allergies. I'm sorry, that's rough. I mean, I feel like going through life without allergies wasn't a thing I ever appreciated, except so many people have them now. Let's see. I'm just scrolling back up to see if we. Not liking cats. Oh dear. I don't know. I can appreciate not liking cats, especially if you're allergic. Although, I don't know. Cats are definitely a vibe. So I think it also depends on the particular cat. Hey, Pam. Bye, Pam. Have a good one. Yeah, the interesting thing is I thought I was allergic to cats. And then after having them for, I don't know, 15 years, like it was not really a thing when, like, I'm not allergic to these particular cats. But when I used to help run adoption fairs and volunteer with cats, like there were definitely cats that I would have reactions to. It's funny, Lennox is in the spot where my black cat usually hangs out, but my black cat is not a fan of wintry times. So, unfortunately, we got almost a good cut out of this, but I think I will like this better in brown. But, you know, I'm going to try to mostly keep these pieces together until we, oops, I almost threw one out. That's why I'm going to try and keep these semi-aligned so it's less of a confusing time later. I don't think I'm going to need more than 4 given how this card is going to lay out, but Um, and this, interestingly, this wheel does not have the correct number of slots in it. It has 7, which looks better graphically, but I don't know. The color theorist in me is a little always like, but it should have 6. Oh, we could do craft. Craft is pretty. I think do craft. Yeah, this actually it's not craft, but it's close enough. Uh, we'll just sort of roughly cut that. And we do have, I almost used them, but they didn't quite lay out correctly. I do have a whole set of more kitties from the fall. I kind of want to do like a bigger piece with this. I think this one would be really, really cool. Anyway, love it. But I really like, and this is all Don's fault that I own all these now, but like, I really do like the Whimsical Autumn a lot. Because the cats. Because cats. And cats in the autumn are a vibe. Um, and this actually magnets down pretty well because there's so much like metal in this particular die. If you're one of those people like me who like loved Legos as a kid, we're not going to use any of the pieces inside of this, but you definitely could. And we will definitely save these for another project. If you look at Craft Roulette's galleries, you'll see a lot of ways you can use a wheel. And a lot of them are not like as a Craft Roulette wheel. Although I'm kind of using it more as like a lectern versus a Craft Roulette wheel, but you know. So this piece I'm not going to bother saving, but I will. I usually do this. I'm going to throw these guys in the bag with the die for next time or some other time. The other thing you can do with these is, and I think I've done this on stream before, but if you line them up like this, you can get sort of a diagonal line pretty easily. So it's really, you can make some really neat patterns out of the wedges. Which if you're a Lego person, you'll really like. I really like it. But I think I have all the stuff I need to actually make a card. And we've only been going for an hour. It's probably good Shannon's not streaming tonight because I'm running quite late, but that's okay. Okay, so we have some white and we want to make a card base out of this. Figure out where my pyramid scores is and not knock all my new dies that are now cut apart on the floor. I'm thinking top folding always looks better. Well, not always, but in this case, I think I would like a top folding card base. So I'm just going to cut this in the middle and flippity it and go from there. I'm not sure how big this wheel is, so I'm actually going to measure it. And if you ever do this, just flip it over and have the longer side on top, and no one will ever know or have complaints about it. Although I have never actually gotten a complaint on a card, so hopefully that continues in the new year. But anyway, so I'm thinking we will line this up kind of like this so that we do have that we're sort of gonna cut this like that to have our dude be, you know, mostly center of the card. And maybe we might push him down a little bit, which makes me sad because I really like that shirt. But then we could put our sentiment here. This does not stand out very well, but we're going to put on some background paper. And I'm thinking what we want to do, since this is about 3 inches wide, I think we're going to go a little bit shorter. But let me see how that looks. So rather than 4, let's go. Let's see how 3, 7, 5 line. I don't love that I'm cutting off this bag. I kind of like this bag, so let me just cut on this side of the bag. Just gonna move this over and not really worry about what I'm cutting, but then I'm gonna flip this and trim this to 3 1/4. And we'll just lose a little bit. But I really like this particular bag, so I wanted to sort of leave it intact. The back side of this is plaid. Is this really quite nice sort of purple plaid. Kind of muted. It's like a good autumn plaid, so like it's not going to go to waste. And then normally I would do 5 1/4, so we'll just go to 5. I kind of like how this bottom part is here. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'll go to 5 1/4 and then open off to again keep our bags more intact while we're making up. Another crafty term. We're having more intact bags. I'm actually saving all those pieces because I really like this plaid. Anyway. So let's see. It's going to give us a wider border, which I like. I like that with the size of the wheel here. So I think that's going to work. And what I'm going to do is do a little faux splatter on the edges here. Think like a yellow or an orange would work because this orange is going to be almost a direct, almost a direct complement to this purple. So like the shirt is going to really pop. So I think I want kind of a similar yellowy vibe, reddish, orangey, whatever. Let's see what I can. Oh, what did I have? Well, ginger would be fabulous because it's the best color ever. I think I have glitz somewhere, which is very close. To the color I want. Here we go. So I think these two will be a really good Really quite a nice vibe with our little faux splatter. Hey, Mommy Guide, how are you? The cast parameter is fun. I don't know about other people, but um, since I'm gonna stamp off with this just because this Catherine Pooler ink is pretty spicy, and I just got it on my finger. Go me. Um, and I'm just gonna do this until I run out of ink because it's not like we're going to have too much ink on too much splatter. There we go. And then you can just do that and get like very, very light splatters. If I'm stamping off the first bit just because like it feels like it would be a little much. And you can also like rotate a stamp like this to get sort of different looks. There we go. And this looks kind of weird, but once we get our other stuff on top, I think it will be great. And if it's not, we can just add more splatter because that's the thing about splatter. Like if it looks too even, you can always just come back and do a little bit more. Oh, sorry, I stopped my thought in mid thought. I like the Oso inspired rules, which are for casing things, which are basically you can be inspired by anything to any degree. This one is a little not quite that insofar as I feel like I'm gonna do ginger at full strength because it's a little more of a muted color. And this pad's kind of dry. I should re-ink it. But this is our faux splatter. I think it's great. I think it's more interesting if you don't obviously see the influence. I don't know. Feel free to chime in other people who case things regularly, but I think it's just kind of neat if it's sort of like, I'm not really sure how they use that particular thing. Okay, I think we're good with our faux splattering. These are very juicy ink pads, FYI. So are the Stampin' Up! Ones. If you stick your hand in them, they will be scrubbing it off for a while. So you can avoid doing that. Life is great. Ooh, I like this. So once we have our dude here, I think this is going to work really well because you have very similar kind of yellows and browns. Although I kind of want a little more yellow up in that top corner. And we can do that because we have an unlimited amount of splattering we could potentially do. There we go. There we are. And then here looks a little. I like it. Okay. I'm actually normally I would just tack down this piece on top, but I think it'll be easier if we figure out our dude and wheel alignment and then just use a paper cutter to like cut off whatever part of the wheel we don't need, because we'll probably have a sort of a part of a pie slice. And I do kind of like this when you get all four of these. So we're going to have these 2 or 3 little odd bits that we will glue it down, but then when we trim it off, it will be fine. But let's see if that makes sense. Let me just grab my full-size guy. Sorry, I was a little off camera. So let's put our base aside for the moment. So if he's, I guess you kind of want him low center so that we can get our sentiment on top. I kind of like this sort of a alignment, which means we'll have less wheel than I was originally planning, but that's okay. So I probably will tack glue him down with his shirt and then glue the wheel down. No, I mean, that's about what we were thinking of. The one thing I didn't recall was, and I may pop this up on some foam, so, but I think the alignment we were generally thinking of worked. So I think we just want to make sure that, so these pieces line up. We just have this piece on top. And what we could actually do is bump this down, and then we get to save 3 of those and aren't gonna, waste 3 little partial cuts. That would put our guy about like this, I think. Let's just we could actually cover up his hair a little bit. That'd be okay. Yeah, I think that's about like I think this is about what we're gonna wind up with. So I'm going to take this and then start gluing stuff down and probably pay attention to chat because I've been not doing a good job about that. So it can mean two things, Sherry, which is kind of other people may have hit this already, but so clean and simple, which is not the style we're doing at all. Um, but it can also be used as a verb, which is to case, which is to copy and share. So basically, it's like you find a design you like, and you decide that you want to share that with others. So you do that, and then at least when I do it, I like to give the original person credit, but just so that if you're interested in following, this is interesting because this, like, so if you line these up, sort of, if you line up the base of the images, I guess that makes sense. You'd line up the base of the images. I feel like this is a little not quite lined up, but anyway, well, we'll live with it. Oh, thanks. I do too. But anyway, there was a whole debate over what CAS meant because it was an acronym. And to quote myself from work last week, you should be careful using acronyms because they can mean a bunch of different things, and it can confuse people. But it was a whole topic during Craft Roulette as to like what the parameter actually meant. Now, normally we'd probably want to, well, the other way you could do it, you might want to bump this up if you actually put a base on this wheel. But I think because of the fact that we're going to just sort of put this down here, I think we can glue this down and then just cut the whole thing off and not really have to worry about it. There are 2 layers here and no layers here. So potentially the like wedge pieces might look a little bit wonky, but I don't think they will. Mostly because it's a very lightweight pattern paper. It's more of a paper and less of a cardstock. So I think it will be perfectly okay. And I'm going to use wet glue, which also makes life a little bit easier. But clean and simple as a style is interesting because I'm not sure that people agree what it actually is. But I guess you could say that about any style, really. Like everybody sort of interprets it themselves, but I'll say my interpretation of clean and simple is usually one idea. But feel free to chime in, folks who also make cards. Mine are usually not clean and simple because I usually have other ideas. Well, I would say more than one idea. Sometimes too many ideas, but So I think this is. I do kind of like him behind the tree. Although that looks like this feels like not the right piece. I guess it's hard to tell because it's leaves. I kind of actually like it better with this piece. But this is the actual one that we cut. Because essentially there's leaves here, so I will do it correctly, but well, I will I will piece the pattern paper back together. I guess I had some glue because it is not loving that. Anyway, let me glue these in. Whoop, there we go. And when gluing something like this, you can weight it down. These, I think I will just put glue on the paper here, just so that I'm not going to get my trimmer super gluey, because that would be not super awesome. The ones that sort of just set in on top entirely, I think this will be pretty fun and not require a ton of work. These are kind of nice dies because the wedges actually sort of inset because of the way they cut out, which I like a lot. And I just did what I said I wasn't going to do, so oops. Um, we will wipe that off a little bit. I will give this at least a moment to dry. The other thing you can do is use an ink pad or anything else that's flat to just provide a little pressure and make sure your glue is squeegeed out. The nice thing about wet glue is once it's done being wet, it is not anymore. There's my obvious fact for the day, I guess. But it's nice. I think it's definitely nice to not have the glue be sticky forever. And I'm just going to grab my trimmer I put somewhere, and we will trim this off. I would suggest, although you don't have to, certainly, this type of an operation I find is a lot easier to do with a guillotine trimmer. Although I know we have some folks who are not a fan of them. So anyway, I'm just going to cut straight through. There we go. That's all kind of garbage. But then we have our dude in the podium. Talking about craft roulette parameters. Do we like the dude headphones? Headphones kind of, I don't know. Well, then I'm not going to be as worried about covering over his hair if he has headphones. I think I'll do the headphones. We can probably get this onto a card base first before we do anything else. Oh, the clean and simple challenge. Oh, let's learn about what it actually is. One main focal point and lots of open no pattern paper space. Yeah. Yeah, that's how I think of it. I guess the card that comes to mind is actually an Amanda Stevens craft roulette card. I forget what the parameters were, but it was basically like glasses. Oh, I like how this looks. It was basically like a wow. You can't even tell this isn't like spattered for real. And I didn't dye my computer weird colors. There we go. And you could actually put in a if I had this purple, I would almost put in an eighth of an inch border here. But I don't. So, I mean, we could use the back of it, but I'm going to tack this down. And I'm just going to use dry adhesive. You could use glue if you wanted to. Because Lineco is the best glue ever. Well, I don't know. It is my favorite glue ever. And I'm just going to eyeball this and be somewhat careful. There we go. And we'll get our headphones on and then figure out what we want to do with the Whoa, It's Fall sentiment. I'm thinking popping it up for sure. And this, I think I can don't really need much glue on the actual headphones because we just need to get them on his ears and then squeegee it down and actually just do that because we have a stamping block there. And while I really like the positioners, blocks are really nice for this sort of, if you're either making your own pattern paper or you're doing this kind of like, I don't know, haphazard stamping. Is that a term? Probably not. But I do like how this sets apart. You could certainly, if you had this printable, you could. How do we feel about it? A little up higher? Do you like it higher? I kind of like it. Oops. Guess that wasn't glued. Um, I kind of like it just touching his head a little bit. Not his head so much as like just cutting off the headphones. So you see sort of the bags behind here. I kind of like that as a look. Kind of like that. But I do think I want to pop it up. I think I will once again reach for my not paper crafting scissors. And I think we probably want to do that again and then cut it in half, which I hate doing, but we'll be fine. Oop. There we go. Now, those scissors have seen better days, but it should be just fine. It was a little mangled, but I will just go and do that. Well, there's one cat. I hear the other cat, but I don't see where Kaiser's at. So well, it's fall popped up. Yeah, I think that looks cooler because you can see sort of the space between. It looks like it's in front of his headphones, which I like. Let us. Oh, I'm sorry, folks. I always leave comments up. Hey, Tim, how are you? Yeah, this was my craft roulette card. It is a card with a small bag, or multiple small bags in this case. And I used the wheel influenced by another crafter, casing last week's gallery. And then we have splatter and cornucopia color, so which I kind of interpreted as fall, or at least my feeling on fall. Midwestern fall, something like that. Says, whoa, it's fall. And then we haven't done anything on the inside, but that might be a good place to. We have this piece, and I think we could cut this to 4 1/4. And I think that would be cool to, or we could just cut, maybe we'll just cut a banner here because that would look pretty neat. Or actually, I could, maybe I'll just do a line at the bottom here. And that way, if we can do something with the sentiment, if we so choose. Something like this, I generally will leave blank until I know who it's going to. So we'll just say 4 1/4. This was just some offcut from our bag paper, but I really like this purple plaid. And if you leave it like this, the nice thing is if you decide you want to, like, I don't know, make it some particular, once you know what you're going to use the card for, you can always put like a die cut here or something on it, well, this is a bad example, but like, you could put like your whatever thing, you know, and sort of make it more personal to whoever you're giving it to, which I always kind of like doing. But I've gotten to be more of a fan of decorating the inside just because I almost always have something left over. That's going to bug me a little bit. So, see if we can't trim that off and not mangle the card, which is always a little bit of a risk. There we go. Except it worked out. So that's cool. I'm more likely usually to just mess up the card in the last minute. Anyway, so that's how the inside looks. But this is our craft roulette episode, whatever the current one is. Actually, I can tell you because I've got my. So this was the parameter I copied from and shared from the episode 235. This is for episode 236. And I think we are good for this evening because I ran 20 minutes over again, but hey. Yeah, you definitely could. That might be worth doing as well. The other thing you can do with these leftovers is if you flip them, like you can do this really cool like zigzag thing out of these. And then you could just basically, you can either tack this on the back, but then what you could do is, like do the cool zigzag, somewhere like here. We could just figure out how we wanted that to look, and then you could do something like that. Actually, you could also just do it you could do it sort of graphically too, just like this. Or you could, of course, just put the wheel back together too, right? Like you could. These are not exactly lined up because of the way that die cuts, but you could definitely do something like this and make sort of a. Whoops. If I line these up correctly. But you know what I mean. You could make a faux piece of wheel if so does you want to. You could just do like that, cut, glue it down, cut the side off, and then you'd have sort of a half circle. But I think I'm going to leave it the way it is tonight. But that's certainly an option. Let me see if there's anything coming up this week. Next Sunday is Also Inspired. It's going to be pretty fun. Those always go live at 9 a.m. So I will probably see you before then because I will probably be live on Thursday because I don't think I have anything Thursday going on. Oh, you could do that for sure if you wanted to. You could create freckles on his face easily with that, especially with like the ginger and like an off stamp. So you could do that for sure. I don't know. Are we doing something tomorrow? If you want to do something tomorrow, I am around after, I don't know, 4 o'clock. So just keep me, yeah, shoot me a message if you want to do something tomorrow. I am doing not much. Well, I'm working, but like from a crafting standpoint, I don't really have much going on. Oh, thanks, Biddy Penny. Yeah, yeah. Shoot me a message on Facebook if you want to do something. I'm happy to jump on your channel, or like I can throw up a live too. Whatever. I am always happy to craft with other folks because I think it is a lot of fun. But anyway, thank you everybody for coming. It's always fun to have our little Sunday night crafting time. Um, and I hope that everyone has a fantastic week. I am feeling very optimistic, and it's actually super folly outside. So I don't know. I'm excited for all the things. My friend who has the same Halloween kit that I do, we were trying to coordinate on some date for a let's build our Halloween houses. So that might be coming at some point. But as usual, if anything super special comes, I'll throw it up on the community tab. Although check out Delise or my channel tomorrow, sometime in the uh, afternoon, and we might be live. Who knows? But I think Delise gets out earlier than me, so I think that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Anyway, great to see you all. I will see you next Sunday or Thursday or tomorrow night or sometime like that. But until then, I hope you have a crafty rest of your time. And it would be helpful if I clicked on the right tab. Anyway, have a good night, everyone.